Hi, this is Gordon. Welcome to my kitchen. I'm filming this at a kitchen table to show you how to work on the lighting for the instrument cluster on a Mercedes W123 chassis. What I've got here, I'm doing this by myself, so you have to pardon the camera work here. I'm kind of doing both at the same time. What I have here is the instrument cluster out of my 123, and the problem that we have here is that we've showed you on several videos how to take this apart and how to work on fix the speedometer, some other things. But problematic with these things is over time the light in the dash tends to get dim. And it gets so dim that you can almost barely see what's going on. And the cause of that is a couple reasons. One is it never was very bright in the first place, but there's a connector here that transfers electricity when you turn on your lights, and what it does is it turns on the dash light here and the dash light here, and these dash lights just twist out, and if the bulb burns out you can replace them, but they're not very bright in the first place. It's only like this one says, I think it's about a 3 watt or even less than that. Yeah, it's a 12 volt. It says it's about a 3 watt, but I think that would be even stretching it. The 3 watts lights up, and I'm going to show you a instrument cluster that I have with the pieces gone. What it does is it lights up a chamber, and this chamber right here, the bulb essentially fits in here like this and lights up this chamber. And then there's a little piece of plastic that is really a light guide, a light channel that guides it along this channel right here and into the front. And then there's a couple, I've taken the front glass off this so we can show you, but in the very front, I'm going to zoom in here, there's a kind of like a little visor, a little screen that takes the light and shines it down, and so your instruments sit like this. Your instruments sit here, and so the light shines out of here, and these two bulbs, one on the left and one on the right, illuminate through these channels right here, and then the light's supposed to emanate out of here and light up this dash panel. Well, what happens is I've got one here that I've taken apart, and what happens over time is that these light channels discolor. They get kind of yellow and they melt. These generate heat. And so, as you can see in these chambers right here, in this chamber, you can see that there's some bubbling and some burning and some heat. That the heat has caused this to almost melt. So the heat from that, as it melts this, it also melts the ends of these light guides, these light channels. This is one right here that I took out, and when I took it out, you can see that it's discolored and right here and bubbled. And so that blocks a lot of the light, and so a lot of the light doesn't make it down through here, and then this bends and turns down, and that's where the light radiates out onto your panel. So it would sit like this, essentially. As you can see that, it would sit like this, and the light bulb would be here. It's supposed to come into the end here and then follow this channel down, and then make this curve, kind of like a fiber optic channel would. It makes this curve, and then it radiates down onto the instrument panel. Again, unfortunately, as that thing melts and discolors, it can't transfer the light. There's really a couple of different versions of the chassis that I've seen. This one, it's black, and really it's comprised of two pieces. There's a clear plastic light channel that sits underneath it, and then there's an overlay, a black overlay that sits on top of it that keeps light from coming out, I would assume. And then there's another one, and This one is silver, and it's got a white viewfinder here, or a white little vent exit where the light comes out. And it's been painted black on the one side, but inside you can see, I'll zoom in here, inside you can see that it's actually white. Right here, it's actually white in color on the inside, and so that would tend to illuminate a little more, but I just wanted to point that out, and that'll have some importance as we progress here. So here's the channel right here. The light then follows this light guide along here and then comes down in through this little viewfinder and comes out of here and projects onto the instruments. I think you've got that, okay? So what we're going to do is I've purchased off of eBay a bundle of white LEDs that are 12 volts. The gentleman has, that I purchased from has put a current limiting resistor here and puts heat shrink around these so that they'll work in a 12 volt environment. So we're gonna install one of those in each one of these, and then we're gonna hook it up to the circuit board. All right. The first thing that you have to do is on the very top of the instrument cluster, regardless of whether it's the black version or the silver version with the white viewfinder or the black one, you've got to drill out these two holes right here. And so what you do is take just a drill, and you don't drill them all the way through. You just drill enough. What's happened is they put a pin through like this, a plastic pin through, and then they melted the top to create kind of like a plastic rivet. So all we want to do is drill down enough to take the top off of that. We don't want to go all the way through. We just want to drill down far enough to take the top off. So what I've done here is I drill one side and I drill the other. And now that I've taken those off, I take my screwdriver and put it right in here and wedge it between the top of the little chamber here and as I press it, the thing will pop right up if you've done it right. So it pops up on this particular one. Since it's one piece, it comes right up, and I'll pull that out and I'll show it to you. It's got silver kind of mirroring on the top. So again, the light will shine in here, it'll move along here, and then it'll emanate out of here into the panel. So I'm gonna pull that out. Notice it's left this little port, this little light portal right here. The little viewfinder I've called it in the past, the light portal. It's left that there. So I've taken the other side here, and what I've done is I've done the same thing that I did to it, that I just done to that side. And then what I did was I took one of the LEDs, and you move it right up here and put it right through the hole that we just pulled the light guide out of. So now that it's sitting in there, I run the wires through here like this, and then what I want to do is I want to get a piece of tape, because what will happen is if these burn out in the future, I may want to replace that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of tape, and I'm going to measure the distance. Actually, what I'll do is I'll apply the tape. I'm going to apply the tape there. Before I do that, there's one thing that I want to show you. There's a little resistor right there, and the resistor actually generates heat. What it does is it limits the current that goes to the LED, so the LED won't burn out. Unfortunately, that heat has got to be dissipated somehow. And so what I've done, notice that there's heat shrink around here, and you don't do this if it's an open circuit or bare wires, is I'm going to wrap this resistor in aluminum foil like this. I'm going to just wrap aluminum foil around it. So we had the heat shrink, and now we have the aluminum foil on it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it down inside the light portal, or the aperture. And then I'm going to put a piece of tape on it like this and just hold it down with tape. And I'm going to put tape on either side of it. And I'm going to bring the tape all the way over, cover that hole, and then what I want to do is cut it off. And the reason we do that is because when I take this one apart, I'll show you, we're going to put that rubber O-ring right back on the outside of this, and it's going to go right on the outside like that. So when we put this ring off, we're going to put it right back there. It'll cover up that hole, and we're going to be fine. So I've done that to both sides now. Got tape on either side. Okay, and so both of these now are ready for me to transfer. I'm going to transfer the instruments out of here into here, and then I'm going to show you how to hook up the wires, the two wires, to the PCB. However, before we can do that, this is the old one, and so this is one of the older ones that don't have the silver light guide. Instead, it's got the two-piece light guide. It's got a translucent one underneath it here, and then it's got the cover on top of it, as I said earlier. So what we have to do on that one is essentially the same thing that we did there. Is we're going to have to drill out these two holes, and then unfortunately this whole thing is one piece. With the black one, this whole thing plus the aperture is one piece, I believe, and so it doesn't come out real easily. We may have to break it off right there. So let me pause here. Okay. The first thing we want to do, one of the things that we want to do is we have the instrument cluster apart, and the main connector, excuse me for the herky-jerkiness of the... Okay, the main connector, the main connection for the instrument cluster, electrical connection, comes in through here. All of these different connections go to the various lights throughout the instrument cluster. What we're interested in is the dimmer switch right here. There's 12 volts comes into the dimmer switch here when the light switch turns on, when you turn the lights on, and then the dimmer switch, you turn the dimmer switch, and then it varies the voltage out, which comes up to here, and this is the hole right here for one of the bulbs right here, and then this stretches across to the other side, and the other bulb goes into here like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those bulbs out, and we're not going to use them. What we're going to use is instead we're going to use those LEDs that I showed you. And the first one of the things that we want to do is we want to tap into... All right, so the main connector comes in here, the electrical connection here, and then it passes through here to the circuit board, as you can see here, right here. And then 12 volts comes over here to the dimmer switch, and then the dimmer switch passes 12 volts through to here, and it dims the two lights. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap into the red. Red is the positive, and the gray right up here is the negative, or ground. So what I've done is I've got two little about 6-inch wires, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed them through the hole here like this, and I'm going to take the red one and I'm going to solder it to the red. I have my sequel book over here to kind of incline this so you can see. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see me doing this. All right. So I'm going to take the red and I'm going to solder it right here to this red one like that. Okay. And then I'm going to take the gray one and I'm going to solder it, the green one, I'm going to solder it to the gray right there. So I'm going to proceed to do that here. All right, I'm taking my 6-inch red wire and I'm going to tin the end of it, put some solder on the end of it. All right, and then I'm going to solder the red to the red here. I've got a little too much, so I'm going to cut the end. You only need about 1/4 of an inch. I had a little too much right there. I'm going to solder that right there. Okay. Now that it's there, I'm going to let it solidify, and I'm going to feed the red through the hole. Careful, because you're working around the tack unit and the oil gauge, etc., etc. Now I'm going to take my green wire that I had somewhere here. And I'm going to attach the green wire to the gray right here. I'm going to solder it to the gray. Once again, I'm going to tin it so that I have some solder on it, covered with solder. Again, I'm going to cut it to about 1/4 inch. The reason that I tin it first before cutting is so I have a clean edge. If you cut it and then tin, you have a frayed edge, a frayed end. So I'm gonna solder this one to the gray right here. Okay. So gray is going to be the ground, and red is going to be the hot. And I'm going to feed those up like that. And I think we're ready to install it now into the case, into the instrument cluster case. See the work done there? And now what I'm going to do is hook it back up, install it into the case that's been modified as I showed you earlier. Okay, here's the instrument cluster case that I've modified earlier. And I'm going to now take the wires from the first chamber, and I'm going to feed them through the hole, and then I'm going to hook this up as I would normally, and it just hooks up like this, fits in there. This wire feeds across here, and then I'm going to take the wires from the other LED, and I'm going to feed them up through here like that, and then I'm going to hook that in as it normally goes, and that hooks in like that. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the screws back up, put the speedometer back in, and put in the tachometer and the clock, and once I do that, I'll show you how to hook all this up again. Okay, it was reassembled. I brought the two wires up from this LED through that hole, and it's been reassembled. I ran them over the top of the speedometer, and I brought them out over here. And so then I took the three red wires and soldered them together right here, and the two blacks and the green, and soldered them here. And so now what we'll do is I'll insulate those with either some heat shrink or some electrical tape, and then I'll lay them to the side of the speedometer here and tape them to there. And of course, all of this can be undone if you want to go back at some time to the old regular bulbs. But I'm going to just show you the difference here. If you recall how bad yours is when you try to turn it on, I've got a 12-volt power supply here that I'm going to hook up. I've got it hooked up now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut the lights off, and then I'm going to turn this on and show you the difference between this and you know what yours looks like. So I've got the lights shut off now, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And you can see how much better that is than the current lights that you use. So there's off, there's on, and you can see that that's much brighter. And of course, if you use the dimmer switch, you could dim it as well. Now we're just gonna hook it back up again. It's connected to the correct switch, and it will turn on when you turn your lights on, and turn off when you turn your lights off. All right, I brought the three wires together here, the 3 reds and the 3 blacks, and I've got some heat shrink that I just pushed over them. And so now what I'm going to do is melt the heat shrink so that it's insulated, and then I'm going to lay this down to the side here and just tape it so that it'll be out of the way. Okay, I've got it back in the car, and I'm going to get in the car, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when I turn it on. So let me get in the car here. I'm going to turn off the... You can see that I've got it back in the car. Push it back in. And now it's going to beep at me because I got the door open. So I'll just shut the door a little bit, and I'll turn the lights on. And you can see that I'm sitting back in my driver's seat, and you can actually read them. Read the mileage, read everything from back here, and normally you can't. Normally that's so bad you can't read it. So we're done.